Okay, picture this. Every single day, billions of images, voice notes, and videos are flying across our social media feeds. And for almost all of human history, a photograph or a recording was treated as the ultimate proof, right? If you saw it or if you heard it, it happened. Case closed. But in this explainer, we're digging into how that fundamental assumption is completely breaking down. We're taking a strictly investigative look at the documented story of synthetic media, which you probably know better as AI-generated content. We're going to examine the hard facts, the verified cases, and really unpack what happens to our trust when the evidence of our own eyes and ears can literally be manufactured.
It all boils down to this: seeing is no longer believing. And that phrase right there captures the crisis perfectly. Today's software can generate a face of someone who never existed, synthesize a voice that never spoke those words, and render a high-definition video of an event that simply never happened. And the wild part? These fakes are improving at a pace that is so much faster than the tools being built to catch them.
Now, this technological shift definitely didn't happen overnight. The core technology was actually established back in 2014. By 2017, the term deepfake had officially entered our vocabulary. But the absolute largest surge in volume, the real explosion of this synthetic media, hit us between 2023 and 2025. It is a massive global phenomenon now. What we know for sure is that AI systems can pump out audio, images, and video realistic enough to deceive not just ordinary viewers like you and me, but major, highly secure institutions.
Section 1. The Mechanics of Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs. So, how does this actually work? The foundational method arrived in 2014 when researcher Ian Goodfellow and his colleagues introduced the Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN for short. Basically, a GAN pits two opposing systems against each other in a duel. Step 1, you've got the generator, and its entire job is to create the fake content. Step 2, you have the discriminator, which acts as the judge to determine whether that content looks real or fake. They just compete against each other, round after round, in this endless loop. The generator keeps trying to trick the discriminator, learning from every single failure until the output becomes basically flawless.
The public label for all this came a bit later. Back in late 2017, a user on Reddit posting under the name Deepfakes started sharing these face-swapped videos. The term spread like wildfire, and it really proved how rapidly this tech scales. Within just a few short years, the underlying tools jumped out of specialized research labs and transformed into completely free, downloadable apps that practically anyone with a smartphone could use.
Section 2. The Documented Record: Volume, Detection, and Fraud.
In 2025, the World Economic Forum actually ranked misinformation and disinformation as the top short-term global risk for the second year in a row, and the numbers behind that ranking are honestly staggering. Industry estimates placed the number of deepfakes shared online at roughly 500,000 back in 2023. By 2025, that number skyrocketed to an estimated 8 million. That is an exponential, massive flood of synthetic media hitting the internet.
But you might be wondering, can't we just tell when something is fake? Well, human detection is actually remarkably poor. In controlled studies, people correctly identify high-quality video deepfakes only about a quarter of the time. In fact, a 2024 review of 56 different studies found that average human detection accuracy hovers right around 55%. That is barely better than a coin flip.
And that brings us to the real-world impact. The absolute clearest case of how this deception gets weaponized is financial. In January 2024, a massive landmark fraud case hit the Hong Kong office of the engineering firm Arup. The total loss? $25.6 million. That's 200 million Hong Kong dollars. Here is exactly how it went down. A finance employee logged into what they thought was a routine video call. The chief financial officer popped up on the screen alongside a few other recognizable colleagues. But here's the kicker. Every single participant on that call, except for the victim, was an AI-generated recreation. No way, right? The attackers completely impersonated these trusted identities by rebuilding their likenesses from publicly available source material, like conference recordings and videos posted online. Following the instructions given on that completely fabricated call, the employee authorized 15 separate wire transfers.
The deception was only discovered later when the employee finally contacted the head office directly. Hong Kong police were brought in, and what they found boils down to one really chilling realization. The attack went through a person, not a firewall. No internal corporate networks were hacked, nothing was breached. The most effective fakes out there don't exploit technical vulnerabilities at all. They exploit human trust.
Before we move on, if you're enjoying this story or finding it helpful or entertaining, please subscribe and hit the like button. It helps bring more stories like this to the channel.
Section 3. Verified theories on damaged trust.
Now, the harder question we really need to unpack is why synthetic media damages our societal trust so broadly. Researchers have documented 3 primary theories that explain this, so let's walk through them. Theory 1 is known as the liar's dividend. Legal scholars Bobby Chesney and Danielle Citron mapped this idea out between 2018 and 2019. Their argument is pretty straightforward. Once the public knows that incredibly convincing fakes are out there in the wild, literally anyone can just dismiss real, genuine evidence as fake. So the real damage isn't just the fake piece of media itself. The real damage is the shadow of doubt it casts over everything that is actually genuine.
And we actually have data measuring this theory of mechanism. Experiments involving more than 15,000 US adults found that false claims of fakery really do help public figures avoid accountability. Researchers are still out there measuring exactly how large this effect is in the real world, but the data clearly shows the liar's dividend is actively working.
Moving on to Theory 2, the detection deployment gap. This is the theory that building better detection tools just isn't sufficient on its own, mainly because detection simply cannot keep pace with the massive amount of content creation.
The real problem lies in the deployment. Sure, detection tools perform exceptionally well in pristine laboratory tests, often hitting above 90% accuracy. But out in the messy, real-world conditions, reported performance drops by roughly 45 to 50%. Now, this conclusion is definitely still contested because detection methods are constantly improving, so the gap is kind of a moving target. But as of right now, that gap absolutely exists.
Theory 3 shifts gears to look at a proposed solution called content provenance. A totally separate line of work argues that the fix isn't about catching the fakes after the fact, but rather proving authenticity right at the source. Created in 2021 by a huge coalition of tech and media companies, this technical standard attaches a signed digital record of origin directly to a file. Think of it like a nutrition label, but for your media.
Supporters say this flips the burden completely. Instead of scrambling to prove a piece of content is fake once it's already gone viral, we prove it's real the very second it's created. Now, it's really important to note that this is still just a theory of the solution for now. Industry adoption is only partial, and currently, bad actors can still maliciously strip those origin records right off a file.
Section 4. Current legal and technical status. So where does all of this leave us today? Let's take a look at how governments and platforms are actually reacting to this crisis. Right now, the ongoing global response is pretty fragmented. Over in the US, a 2025 federal law requires platforms to remove non-consensual intimate synthetic imagery. Meanwhile, the European Union has strict transparency rules kicking in for 2026 that make labeling AI-generated content completely mandatory. And the major tech platforms? They've started proactively adding disclosure systems, throwing automated or creator-declared labels onto synthetic images and video services.
But here's the reality check. None of these measures are complete fixes. Detection is still totally imperfect. Labels can easily be ignored or missing, and origin signals can be stripped away. The documented state of synthetic media today is super simple to state, yet incredibly hard to solve. The technology to fabricate completely convincing media is widely available to everyone, while the systems we need to verify what is actually real are still being built.
As we head into a future where our own eyes and ears can literally be weaponized against us, the ultimate defense won't just be better code or smarter algorithms. It's going to involve questioning the very nature of trust itself. How exactly does a society function when proof is just a matter of programming? Thank you for hanging around until the end. If you want to see more documented deep dives, hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one.